A river has its secrets, far under folds of water, deeper than the buried dark, where all is slick and softer. A fire has its secrets, dancing bare before your eyes, trimmed in heat and lost in gold, something in its brightness lies. A boy has his secrets, his fist clasped tight as stone, watching water, spying fire in a crowded room, alone. River Secrets is about Enna and Ani's friend Razo, a forest boy who used to take care of the king's sheep and soon became a soldier in the king's army. What's interesting about River Secrets is that it's not structured like the other books in the series. Instead of having chapters without titles and parts separating the growth of the character, these chapters have titles and no separation of parts. This is to tell the reader that Razo's character is vastly different from the other main protagonists we've seen so far. The story begins about a year, maybe a few months, after the events of Enna Burning. Ani and Geric are still trying desperately to make peace with Tira, and they eventually come to a decision to send an ambassador from Bayern to Tira and an ambassador from Tira to Bayern. The plan is to keep this arrangement until the Tiran Assembly votes on whether or not the war should continue. The person chosen to be the ambassador to Tira is Geric's cousin, Lady Magina. Captain Talone arranges many to be part of the escort guard to Tira, including Enna, Finn, and Razo. Razo is surprised at first since he doesn't really think himself to be very good at anything, but that isn't quite the case. So the journey begins, and eventually a Tiran escort joins up with them. But trouble starts to brew when Razo finds a charred body nearby. He fears that Enna may be out on a burning spree again, and quickly begins to suspect some of the Tiran that have joined them as he overhears the Tiran captain, Ladle, talking about not having the fire fight for Bayern. The group finally arrives in Ingridon, the capital of Tira, where they stay at a palace known as Thousand Years. The liaison there is Lady Dasha, the daughter of Lord Kilkid, the ambassador to Bayern. Throughout the experience, Razo does his best to make nice with the locals and Captain Ladle's men, but loses even more confidence in himself when he discovers that he is the worst swordsman in the entire army. However, Talone reassures him that he chose Razo to be a spy. He is to find out who is burning the bodies, as more corpses have been spotted. So Razo has been quickly gathering information from the girls who work in the palace kitchens. From them, he learns of the radical group known as Manifest Tira, who want the war to start back up again, so they keep trying, and failing, to assassinate Lady Magina. Since Manifest Tira and the Tiran people worship and love the prince, simply known as Radiance, for he is not to be given a name until his future wife gives him one, Razo decides to try to befriend the prince. Well, he is successful! Radiance is fascinated with Bayern culture and enjoys talking with Razo, so he has an idea. Radiance believes that when a Bayern boy is seen among the prince's crowd, the Tiran will start to feel more comfortable with Bayern. Well, it kind of worked. Manifest Tira did try to murder Razo right in front of Radiance, but the crowd of onlookers drives the radicals away as no one dares harm the prince's friend. During this time, Razo also starts to befriend Lady Dasha, for he starts to suspect her as well, considering he found books in her room about the Yassid fire worshippers. And he doesn't realize this at first, but he's starting to fall for her. Things are still looking grim for Bayern as more assassins keep popping up to murder Lady Magina, and more burned bodies have been turning up. After some assessment, it's clear that the person causing the burnings is not connected to Manifest Tira, as the radicals are more sloppy in their assassination attempts, while the burnings are more calculated. When Razo decides to look for one of the Manifest Tira hideouts to learn more, he finds another charred body. And Dasha. He immediately thinks it's her, but accidentally falls into the river before he can say more. Thankfully, Dasha saves him by revealing that she is not in fact a fire speaker, but a water speaker. Okay, water speaking actually is rather close to waterbending, but it's not waterbending. Basically, what she can do is use the water in the air and the water in the rivers or ocean or whatever. She can also tell clouds to rain. When she's in large bodies of water, the water can tell her about all the stuff it has touched, like fish, plants, etc. She's probably heard word of all kinds of sea creatures. Dasha has actually been helping the Bayern by making the assassination attempts a little bit harder. She rarely uses her gift, though, as she fears meeting the same fate as her grandfather, who drowned himself years before by succumbing to the water, similar in a way to how Leifer had succumbed to the fire. Dasha had hoped that Enna would be able to teach her how to wield fire so that she may have balance. Razo knows to trust her now. Razo immediately goes to Enna, but after Enna's experience with the Tiran, she refuses, still unsure if she can trust Dasha. Razo is sad that he can't do much to help Dasha. Dasha and Razo decide that if she is to win Enna's trust, she has to help the cause a little more. So Dasha joins the search in finding out everything she can about the suspects. After a genuine fire speaker attack at a festival, which wasn't too bad thanks to Enna's new wind speech ability, Razo decides to do some late-night scouting where he discovers that Captain Ladle was the one behind the charred bodies. After Enna asks about the appearance of the bodies, she confirms that they're not burned from the outside, but from the inside, which was how Leifer died, if you recall. When Razo steals a map from the Tiran barracks, he and Dasha go to that location to see what they can find. And what they find is that Ladle has been teaching his own men to speak fire so that when they start up the war again, there's an army of fire speakers enough to wipe out an army! Razo and Dasha make their way to go tell Talon, but they are captured! The beginner fire speakers try to burn both of them, but thanks to Dasha's water speaking, neither are harmed. Ladle then tries to kill them with the sword, but never fear! Enna is here! Enna had found the map that Razo had stolen and made it there with Finn. Battle breaks out, and Enna tries her best not to burn, for if she burned the men, it might raise suspicion, even with a Tiran noble as a witness. Thankfully, with Dasha's water speaking, Finn's expert swordsmanship, and Razo's help, Enna did not have to burn. She only had to tire out the fire speakers to the point where they are close to surrendering, and Dasha's water made sure that the men did not burn themselves inside out. They all go to the assembly and turn in the rogue Tiran. Thankfully, the assembly vote is the next day, and they vote for peace. Ani and Geric arrive in Tira shortly after, along with Ani's sister, Napralina Victory. Radiance is instantly smitten with Napralina, and they become close. Finn also proposes to Enna, and they plan to wed soon. After the celebration of peace, Razo and Dasha are out for a walk, where Razo tells Dasha that Enna has agreed to teach Dasha fire speaking, and they admit their feelings to each other. After they kiss, both are worried they might not be able to see each other again, as many of the Bayern plan to return home. Well, there is a solution. Dasha's father plans to return back to Ingridon, so they'll need a replacement ambassador. Dasha has been planning to sign up to be the ambassador to Bayern and plans to have Razo be her personal guard. The plan is that they'll spend summer and autumn in Bayern and winter and spring in Tira. Both seem to find that a fine idea. And that's the end of the story. It's rather satisfying, and the implication is that finally now everyone lives happily ever after. But there's one more book after this one. Okay, it's time for the analysis. This is a good depiction showing how two countries are trying to be at peace, but the people and other radical groups are making that very difficult. There's also a hint of how the two countries view each other. Both have heard rumors spread about them. One such rumor was that the Bayern eat babies, which is not true, of course. Razo demonstrated how important it is to make friends out of your enemies. By making friends with the nobility, the people were able to see that the Bayern were just like them, people. Really, the reason why people aim to kill each other is that they dehumanize the enemy group. By humanizing the enemy, the people start to understand that the war was a horrible idea and should not have begun in the first place. There was also a demonstration of PTSD. Enna had a horrible experience being a prisoner in a Tiran camp with a man who had her worshipping his every move. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for her to try to be friends with those people. She didn't even begin trusting the Tiran again until Dasha proved that she could be trusted. One important theme that many will find instantly is self-esteem. Razo goes in with no confidence in himself and feeling that the Own only brought him along out of pity, when really he had so many skills that he didn't think were skills. He was good at memorizing features about people and locations. He was also very good at handling a sling, and he was also very good at making friends. Sometimes it just takes a little praise from someone else to help you realize that you are gifted. Overall, the book is well written. It does help to read the first two books to understand the situation of each character and how harsh the war was. I'd give this book the same recommendation as the previous two, 12 and up. It's a really good way of showing how tense things can be after a war and how it is possible to make friends out of what may seem like enemies. I enjoyed reading it again, and I hope you guys enjoy reading it as well. That was River Secrets. Again, I'd recommend reading both The Goose Girl and Enna Burning before reading this one. While this is another one that didn't end on a cliffhanger, it did get a sequel. Next time, we will journey back to Bayern, to the forest, the home of a girl who seems to understand the trees and wishes to understand the 3 mysterious girls who can wield the elements. I hope you guys stay tuned for next week as we take a look at the last book in the series, Forestborn, starring Razo's younger and only sister, Rin. Happy reading, everyone!